I think Rick Snyder said it best. We asked him at our interview with him, what's your position on a constitutional convention? And he surprised me a little bit. He said, I think it would be a fascinating intellectual exercise, but I'm afraid that basically we would relitigate, he said relitigate, all of the social wars of the last 20 years. And I think that's something to be concerned about, and let me put that in some perspective. We're going to have primary elections on February 22nd. That's 112 days after the November 2nd election. Now, many of you are probably habitual voters. You probably vote in every election. In school board elections, sometimes that are held in May, in some districts it's less than 10% voter turnout. Now let me ask you this question. What percentage of the vote do you think will turn out on Tuesday, February 22nd, 2011, for a primary election for Con-Con delegate? I think it will be very low. And as a result, I think those interest groups that have some of their core constituency groups in both political parties will basically make their endorsement on a lot of the social issues that we brush under the carpet here and say, no, that won't come up. We live in a different age than 1961. We're much more partisan, and I think some of these social issues are much more divisive than they were back in 1961-62. So, I give you those numbers. What percentage of the vote do you think will actually turn out in a February 11th primary? And then let's speed forward to May 3rd. And what percentage of electoral turnout are we likely to have to elect these new Con-Con delegates that could burn up the rules of the game, and then we go on from there. So that's my comment, I think, at least in rebuttal to some of the comments previously stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I'm going to pose a couple of questions to both the proponents and the opponents up here on the panel, and then we will take audience questions. So please get your incisive Con-Con questions. I know you all laid awake last night thinking about the state constitution, so get your questions ready. First, for the proponents of a Con-Con, Senator George and Mayor Logie, just to follow up on one thing that Bob just talked about, the social issue questions. How are we going to prevent this from being about God, guns, abortion, and nothing else? We're already preventing free speech, aren't
we? This constitutional convention will be 148 strong. There will not be time for a lot of campaigning or fundraising. There will be an opportunity in every House district and Senate district. So in Grand Rapids, for example, we'll probably have 20 or so delegates because you can run for one or the other. You all have both a Senate district and a House district. This is going to be a very grassroots-oriented thing. But the reality against the fear of it being hijacked is it's too big. It's 148 people. Moreover, I can share, probably the only people in the room could share a personal experience doing this. After a State of the City address on drug reform, I asked to form a commission to make recommendations about things that the city could do within the law. And I thought I'd get 15 or 20 people, I got 103. And we kept them all for work for a year, and then they were done. And did we have some druggies in there? Sure, some active ones and some recovering ones. We had doctors, we had lawyers, we had judges and citizens. They came back with 6 very solid recommendations. They said you ought to have a drug court here in Kent County. We have one now. They said you ought to do free needle exchange. We've done that now. They said you ought to change the state law about mandatory minimum sentencing for first-timers. We went to the legislature with former Governor Milliken and got that repealed. Why am I telling you that? You don't have anything to be afraid of if you put 148 people together next year for the single task of rewriting the Constitution. There will be 85 or 95, and beyond that some crazies. But the 85 or 95 will get the job done because everything that you put into the Constitution needs a vote of 1. 75, one more than half, any decision to make something, and we, the citizens, have the ultimate check on these people because we get to vote it up or down.
I would just repeat that it would torpedo their work for the delegates to fill their constitutional proposal with reversals on social issues where the voters have already spoken. If someone is going to go to the trouble of stepping out of their career to run to be a delegate to help write a new constitution, they want it approved in the end. Remember, it goes back to the voters. It has to go back to the voters. They don't want to see their work undone. So that is an incentive for them to avoid changing the will of the voters on social issues where the voters have already spoken. And that view is confirmed by interviews with delegates from previous constitutional conventions. You wouldn't give up your job to work on this for 3 months in an attempt to see it fail. You would want to see it approved. Therefore, it's very unlikely that they would revisit those issues that have already been decided upon.